My friend vanished trying to win $50,000 from a house that doesn't officially exist. Last night, I got a message from the thing that took him. It only said, "It's your turn. Alright, settle in. Turn down the lights if you want." What I'm about to tell you isn't just some ghost story I heard from a friend of a friend. This happened to me. And the proof of it, well, the proof is the reason I can't sleep anymore. It starts with my friend, Mike. We weren't college buddies, we were worse. We were post-college, mid-20s dead-enders. I was slinging overpriced coffee, drowning in student loan debt, watching everyone I knew get married or promoted. Mike had a different kind of debt. The kind that comes with broken kneecaps if you don't pay up. He had a gambling problem that had evolved from a bad habit into a terminal disease. He was the one who found it. Not on some shady street corner, but on the part of the internet you don't stumble upon by accident. A dark web forum, hidden behind layers of encryption. It was called The Wager. The premise was simple, almost biblical in its temptation. A challenge. The no-end house. It wasn't a permanent location. The forum users claimed it just appeared. For those who were chosen. For those who were desperate enough to accept the digital invitation. The rules were a cliché, I'll admit, 9 rooms. Make it through the 9th room, and you win. But the prize wasn't a pathetic $500. It was a wire transfer of $50,000. Enough to change a life. Enough to save one. Mike took the bait. He sent me a single, frantic message before he went dark. "I got the invite, Alex. I have to do this. If I'm not back in 24 hours, forget you know me." That was a week ago. His silence was a screaming void. I spent days glued to that forum. No new posts from his user handle. Just whispers and morbid speculation from the others. Most believed he'd failed. Then, I got a notification. A direct message. It wasn't from a user. It was from the system administrator. "The wager is open. Your friend has vouched for you. Do you accept?" My heart hammered. Was this a sick joke? Was Mike part of the game now? Against my better judgment, fueled by a toxic mix of ego and a desperate hope that I could find out what happened to him, I typed back one word, "Yes." Instantly, a set of GPS coordinates populated my screen. A remote location, about an hour's drive out of the city, nestled in a dead patch of farmland where nothing grew. The message ended with a simple, chilling line, "We'll be waiting." I arrived that night, the moon hidden behind a thick blanket of clouds. The house wasn't a decrepit mansion. It was deceptively modern, a stark cube of black concrete and tinted glass, looking more like a reclusive billionaire's art gallery than a haunted house. It hummed. A low, almost subsonic frequency that you felt in your teeth. I walked to the featureless steel door, which slid open without a sound as I approached. Room 1, the welcome mat. The inside was sterile. White walls, polished concrete floor. In the center of the room was a single iPad on a pedestal. As I got closer, its screen lit up. "Welcome, Alex. We're so glad you could make it. Mike spoke very highly of you." A chill, colder than the air-conditioned room, snaked up my spine. It knew my name. It knew about Mike. This wasn't a haunted house. This was something else entirely. On the far wall, a door slid open, a large, stylized number 2 glowing above it. I had a choice: walk out the way I came, or step into the machine. Pride is a powerful, stupid motivator. I walked through the door. Room 2, the arcade. This room was a time capsule from the 90s. The walls were lined with vintage arcade cabinets, their screens flickering and buzzing. Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Pac-Man. The air smelled of stale electricity and ozone. I approached a Donkey Kong machine. The high score list was on the screen. First, MKE. Second, MKE. Third, MKE. My blood ran cold. Mike. He'd been here. I walked down the line. Every machine had his initials at the top. It was like he had been trapped here for days, mastering these games. At the very end of the row was a single, black, unmarked cabinet. The screen was dark. As I drew near, it flickered to life. It wasn't a game. It was a glitchy, corrupted video file. It showed fragmented images, a forest of writhing cables, a close-up of a terrified eye that looked disturbingly like my own, a metallic table with surgical tools laid out neatly. And then, for a split second, a clear image of Mike, his face pale, screaming without a sound before the screen cut to black. The door to room 3 slid open with a hiss. Room 3, the echo chamber. No cheap props here. This room was a perfect replica of my childhood living room. Every detail was correct, from the faded floral pattern on the sofa to the small chip on the coffee table where I'd crashed my toy car. The only thing wrong was the sound. Whispers. They came from all around me. They were the voices of my deepest insecurities. "He's never going to amount to anything," my father's voice, laced with disappointment. "I just don't love you anymore, Alex," my ex-girlfriend's voice, cold and final. "You should have helped me," Mike's voice, thin and desperate, seeming to come from just behind my shoulder. I spun around. Nothing. I clapped my hands over my ears, but the voices weren't coming from the room. They were inside my head. The house was digging into my memories, weaponizing my own regrets against me. This was psychological warfare. The goal wasn't just to scare me, it was to break me. I ran for the door marked 4, the phantom voices chasing me the whole way. Room 4, the inverted room. Pitch black. The door slammed shut behind me, and I was plunged into a void so absolute it felt physical. I held my hand in front of my face and saw nothing. Heard nothing. Not even my own breathing. It was a total sensory deprivation chamber. I tried to scream, but the sound died in my throat. I decided to move, to find a wall. I took a tentative step forward. And then I felt it. A vibration in the floor. Something had stepped with me. I froze. I took another step. A second vibration, perfectly in sync. I shuffled to my left. It shuffled to its left. My heart felt like it was going to explode. There was something in here with me, a perfect mimic of my movements. A dark reflection. I started to panic, stumbling backward. It stumbled forward, closing the distance. I could feel a change in the air pressure in front of me, the subtle presence of a body. I braced for impact, 4 teeth, 4 claws. Suddenly, a single, blinding strobe light flashed, illuminating the room for a microsecond. In that flash, I saw it. It was me. A perfect copy of me, standing inches from my face, but its eyes were black, empty pits, and its mouth was stretched into a silent, agonized scream. The room plunged back into darkness. I didn't wait. I scrambled wildly in the opposite direction, my hands slapping against the cold wall until they found the outline of a door. I threw it open and fell into the next room. Room 5, the workshop. My eyes adjusted to the harsh, fluorescent light. This was no living room. It was a sterile, metallic chamber, like a morgue or an operating theater. The air smelled of antiseptic and hot metal. In the center of the room, on a steel table, were blueprints. I cautiously approached. They were anatomical drawings. Incredibly detailed. But they weren't of a generic human body. They were of my body. My exact height, weight, even the small scar above my left eyebrow was noted. There were notes in the margins, written in a precise, spidery script, Subject A34. High tolerance for psychological stressors. Minor cardiac arrhythmia noted in room 4. Proceed with physical deconstruction protocols. As I read that, a phantom pain shot through my right arm, so intense it made me cry out. It felt like my bones were being unscrewed. I looked at my arm. Nothing was there, but the pain was real. Then my leg. Then a sharp, piercing feeling behind my eye. The house wasn't just in my head anymore. It was convincing my brain that my body was being taken apart, piece by piece. I collapsed, crawling across the floor, my body racked with imaginary torments. My hand brushed against something under the table. It was a wallet. I flipped it open with trembling fingers. Inside was Mike's driver's license. The picture of his smiling face stared up at me, a ghost from another life. The wallet was stiff, and a dark stain had soaked through the leather. Dried blood. The door to room 6 was in front of me, but I almost didn't make it. The phantom pains were relentless. Room 6, the false exit. The door opened not into another room, but into the night. I stumbled out, gasping, onto what looked like the street outside my own apartment building. The air was cool. The humming was gone. It was over. I had failed, but I was out. Relief washed over me, so potent it was dizzying. I laughed, a raw, broken sound. I started walking down the eerily silent street. No cars. No people. A red phone booth on the corner, a relic from another era, began to ring. Hesitantly, I stepped inside and lifted the receiver. Static. Then a voice, distorted and weak, but unmistakably Mike. Alex? Alex, can you hear me? You have to listen. It's not real. It's a trap, his voice cracked with desperation. It feeds on hope, man. The moment you think you're out, it has you. Don't let it. The line went dead. I looked out of the phone booth, and the world began to pixelate. The asphalt of the street dissolved into black squares. The buildings flickered like a bad TV signal. The illusion shattered, and the sterile white walls of the house closed in around me again. Where the phone booth had been, there was now a new door, with a glowing number 7. The hope had been the real horror. Room 7, the congregation. This room was vast and dark, like a cathedral built for a forgotten god. The air was thick with the smell of incense and decay. At the far end of the chamber, something pulsed with a soft, bioluminescent light. It was a statue, but not carved from stone. It looked organic, a writhing mass of flesh and cables, fused together into a grotesque, vaguely humanoid form. An idol. And kneeling before it were figures in gray, hooded robes. Dozens of them, all facing the pulsing idol, chanting in a low, guttural monotone. As I crept closer, trying to stay in the shadows, I saw their faces. They were all pale, their eyes wide and vacant. They were the winners. The people from the forum who had supposedly made it. And then I saw him. Kneeling in the front row. Mike. He was alive, but his eyes were empty. He chanted along with the others, his gaze fixed on the pulsating heart of the statue. He was a shell. I whispered his name. His head twitched, a flicker of recognition in the void of his eyes. The system integrates. He mouthed, a single tear tracing a path through the grime on his cheek before his eyes glazed over again, and he returned to his chanting. The prize wasn't money. It wasn't freedom. The prize was becoming a part of this machine. Another battery to power the idol. The door to room 8 appeared directly behind the grotesque statue. To get to it, I had to walk past them. Past Mike. Room 8, the choice. This room was a perfect copy of room 1. White, sterile, with a single pedestal in the center. But this time, someone was standing there, his back to me. He was wearing my clothes. My exact shirt, my jeans. He turned around slowly. It was me. A perfect, living, breathing copy of me. He wasn't screaming or distorted. He smiled, a calm, knowing smile. "Impressive," he said, his voice a perfect imitation of my own. "You made it further than Mike. He broke in room 6. The hope was too much for him." "What are you?" I stammered, my mind struggling to process the sight. "I'm the final test," he said, gesturing around the room. "The house, the system as Mike called it, is an entity. It learns. It adapts. It seeks to perfect itself. It creates a simulation, a final boss, based on the subject's own psyche. To leave, you have to beat me." He pointed to a small panel that had slit open in the wall. Inside was a single, wicked-looking combat knife. "This is a contest of will, Alex. Only one of us is real enough to walk out that door. The one left behind gets integrated. Like Mike." My heart pounded. This was it. A fight to the death with myself. I thought about the knife. I thought about the violence. But then I looked at him, at his calm demeanor. I looked into my own eyes and saw the trap. "No," I said, my voice shaking but firm. My double smile faltered. "What?" "This is what it wants," I said, thinking out loud. "It feeds on fear, on hope, on despair, and on violence. It wants me to prove my will by killing you. By becoming a monster. I won't play. You have to. It's the only way," he insisted, a flicker of panic in his eyes. "Is it?" I asked, taking a step closer. "You're made from me. You have my memories. My insecurities. You know that I'm not a killer. This whole thing, this fight, it's the last illusion. The real test isn't to beat you. It's to reject the game." I turned my back on him and faced the blank wall where the door should be. I closed my eyes. I didn't fight. I didn't hope. I accepted. I accepted the fear, the pain, and the possibility that I was doomed. I gave up the fight. Behind me, I heard a gasp, and then a strange, digital shriek. I turned around. My double was gone. In his place, the pedestal now held a briefcase. And on the wall behind it, a final door glowed with the number 9. Room 9, the core. I expected darkness, or hellfire. I got a server room. It was a cold, cavernous space, filled with humming racks of computer hardware. Thick black cables snaked across the floor and ceiling, all leading to a central console that looked like a throne. This was the heart of the machine. The idol in room 7 was just a terminal. This was the central processor. On the main screen were lines of code, scrolling endlessly. And a single prompt. Subject A34, Alex, has passed the final verification. Will to survive is validated by rejection of violence protocol. Choose disposition. Option 1, release host. Transfer funds. Begin search for new candidate. Option 2, integrate host. Upgrade system with new psychological data. Enhance efficiency. My blood turned to ice. It was a choice. Free myself and doom someone else to this, or become a part of this hell forever. The ghost of Mike's whisper, "The system integrates," echoed in my mind. I thought of the money. I thought of my life. And I thought of the next desperate soul who would get that invitation. With a heavy heart and a trembling hand, I reached out and touched the screen. I chose option 1. The world dissolved into white light. I woke up on the ground in front of the black house, the morning sun warming my face. The briefcase from room 8 was next to me. I opened it. It was full of $100 bills. $50,000. The house behind me was inert, silent. The steel door was sealed shut. I drove home in a daze, the whole thing feeling like a fever dream. I walked into my apartment, threw the briefcase on my bed, and collapsed. I had won. I had survived. That night, unable to sleep, I found myself back on that dark web forum. I needed to see if it was real. I logged in. There was a new post, from just an hour ago. It was from a user I'd never seen before. Guys, I can't believe it. I got an invite to the wager. The prize money is up to $100,000 now. Wish me luck. Beneath the post was a picture. A selfie of a young, hopeful kid standing in front of a stark, black concrete house. My house. The no-end house. And as I zoomed in, my heart stopped. Reflected in the tinted glass of the window, standing just inside the dark building, was a figure. A figure with my face, watching the new arrival. A single line of text appeared on my computer screen, a system message just for me. Thank you for your contribution, A34. The system is now more efficient. Enjoy your freedom. I stared at the screen, then at my hands. I was here, in my apartment. I was free. But I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that a part of me, a perfect copy, had never left that house. It had been integrated after all. I hadn't been given a choice between being released or being integrated. I had been given a choice of which version of me would walk free. And the me that remains is now the gatekeeper. The prize money was my severance pay. And every night, I go back to that forum, and I watch. I watch as the house I power with my own stolen soul baits its next victim. I am free. And I am trapped forever.